Hi guys, my name is Mike, and in this video I'm going to show you a tactic that will help you win the vast majority of your dogfights. And by vast majority, I'm talking about around 90%, I'd say 90% of your dogfights against another chopper. So the way this video is going to work, I'm going to show you some examples. I'm going to explain how this works, and at the end of the video I'm going to talk about why what doesn't work and why it doesn't work. So let's start with the goal. Your goal is to force the enemy chopper to drop ECM or flares before you do, and if you manage to do that, then you're halfway there. And the way this works is you're gonna try and remain below radar, and if you do that, then you can lock onto the enemy chopper and they cannot lock onto you. So you're forcing them to drop ECM or flares, and then after they do that, you rise quickly and you finish them off with your rocket pods or with your second missile. And that's the basic idea. It's a lot more complicated than that, so and there's a series of steps you need to follow if you want this to work 100% of the time. So let's go through the steps, and I'm going to start with the most important one, and that is you need to remove yourself from the action. If you're going to fight the enemy chopper, you need to remove yourself from the battlefield. You don't want to be fighting the enemy chopper over the middle of the map for a simple, obvious reason, that you're going to get shot down by an eagle. You know, even if you do win the dogfight, you'll get locked onto and you'll get shot down by an eagle 90% of the time. So the minute you see that enemy chopper on your radar, just back off, move towards your deployment, and prepare for battle as close to your deployment as possible. Now, the second thing you need to do is you need to find a place on the map that is flat, that has no obstacles around it or behind it. And the reason for doing that is because you're going to be doing some backpedaling, so you don't want to run into a tree or a building. And what I usually do for every map, I have a spot that I use every time I'm doing a battle with the enemy chopper. I find a place that I'm comfortable with. I know the terrain, I know where the trees are, I know where the buildings are, so I'm finding that spot on the map and I'm using it every single time. So that's a good tip for you to do. I mean, on Caspian border, it's probably this area right here. It has very few trees, and I know exactly what to do every single time. So the next thing you need to do is you need to stay below radar, and the reason you know you're below radar, if you look at the left corner, your minimap, as long as you see your chopper on the minimap, it means that you're not below radar. Okay, so you need to pay attention to the minimap, and when you realize that your chopper is not on the minimap, that means that you're below radar, and you'll get used to it. After a while, you won't need to be looking at your minimap all the time, but that's the easiest way to know if you're below radar or not, because the indicator on the right, you know, that flashing red number, that's not very visible, and it's not a good indicator for you, at least in the beginning. So the next thing you want to do is lock onto the enemy chopper and fire a single missile. That will force them to drop ECM and flares, and the next thing you want to do after they've done that is you need to rise real quick. You need to rise immediately after they've dropped ECM or flares. And the reason to do that is, there's two reasons to do that. One, you don't want to die to the gunner, because that's your main threat at that point. You know, a gunner shooting you out of your seat. And two, you don't want him to get below radar himself, because that's the only thing that will keep him alive, is after dropping ECM or flares, to go below radar so that you can't lock onto him, and you want to avoid that. So rise up quickly, force him to keep his altitude, and at the same time you want to backpedal for exactly the same reason. You don't want him getting close to you, because the attack chopper, the enemy attack chopper, when the pilot realizes that, you know, he's screwed, he's gonna try and get as close as possible to you, and he's gonna try and turn this into a rocket pod fight. I mean, I don't know if you've seen boxers when they're in a corner, you know, they try to get hold of their opponent when they realize that they're fucked. That's exactly the same thing that pilots do when they realize that they've lost the battle. They try to get as close as possible to you and turn this into rocket pod fight. So you want to avoid that, so backpedal And at the same time, after you're comfortable enough with backpedaling, you can add the strafe to your back pedal, so move backwards and strafe at the same time, and that will make it harder for both pilot and the gunner to shoot you. So after you've done that, you know, you're high up in the air, you fire both your missiles because they've probably reloaded by that time, and finish the chopper off. And the minute you do that, the minute you've won the dogfight, just get low real quick. You need to dive back into below radar because you're still vulnerable. You have no ECM or flares, and there's a high chance that you get shot down by a jet or something like that. So finish the kill and get down as quickly as possible. So that's the 10 steps that you need to take in order to make this work almost 100% of the time. So let's talk about when this won't work. And this won't work if you're playing against the top 1% pilots in the game, because probably they're doing exactly the same thing. And quite frankly, if you're playing with the top pilots in this game, you're not going to win a dogfight anyway. It doesn't matter what tactics you'll use. They probably know all the tricks better than you do. This is something that I'm showing for, let's say, not beginners, but someone who's not on in the 99th percentile of pilots out there. I mean, if you're playing against players who have competitive experience and stuff like that, you know, a trick like this probably won't work. It might work once, but not every single time. And your main threat against those good players is a good gunner that knows how to shoot that TV missile. I mean, if you're low like this, there's a high chance that you're gonna get TV'd, and that's why I'm talking about strafing while backpedaling. You don't want to stay in a straight line because 90% of the time they'll hit you with a TV missile. And the other instance where this won't work is if the enemy chopper is using laser painter. Now, if they're using laser painter, it means that they can still lock onto you below radar. But in my experience, those choppers don't stay up in the air long enough because there's jets, and that's their main threat. A chopper with laser painter and no radar is gonna get shot down real quick. So there's not many choppers like that out there. If some pilot is using this tactic, then you need to use laser painter as well. So that's it, guys. I think that's all I had to say about this tactic. I'm hoping it made sense. I was talking a bit fast, so let me know if you understood everything that I said. Give me some feedback, and that's it for now. Thanks. Take care.